Welcome to PM Express Business Edition. Every country depends on taxes to grow, expand, and develop their economies. But what happens when the rich, the famous, those who have it, do not want to pay these taxes to develop our economy? Have you thought about the Ajua Mansa who is earning just 500 Ghana cedis a month, and she's subjected to all the levies and taxes? What about that person earning about 30 Ghana cedis a month, but they decided not to pay tax to the state? Is it a moral issue, or it's just about that person being smart? How is this affecting our revenue mobilization in this country? Well, all these things wrapped up on PM Express as an engaged official from the Ghana Revenue Authority. From the private sector, Nano Sebunsu is chief executive of the Private Enterprise Federation and also a tax consultant, someone who engages these companies. Yalati, he's a partner at Deloitte. Well, let's talk about tax evasion, tax avoidance, the moral issue, and being smart, all here on PM Express Business Edition.
That we've known, and there have been several reports and survey on this particular phenomenon. In our view, the idea that professionals evade taxes is one that I would say is real and also perception at the same time. So it's a yes and a no that professionals evade taxes. So President in his speech backed it with some figures. There are about 60,000 professionals, being architects, accountants, lawyers, and others, evade taxes or are not on the tax paying list. That, for me, it's very, very worrying because, as you know, these are professionals who are providing professional services. And as a result of that, they are deriving income from Ghana, and they have an obligation as citizens to pay the taxes that they get from this income. And so if they are not paying taxes or they are not filing their returns and so on and so forth, then it's worrying. But I think that it's partly because of several factors, some of which Mr. Knapp has alluded to, that we operate a cash society where you pay some of these professionals in cash. So if someone provides accounting services for you, you pay the person in cash. If you go to see some doctors, you pay in cash. And then you see a lawyer, you pay the lawyer in cash. So if you do all of that, then it's so easy for people to get away with this. On the other hand, beyond the professional services providers, we also know that the artisans are outside the bracket as well. Sometimes we forget, we only mention the lawyers, the accountants, and then all the professional service providers. But your usual masons, carpenters, and so on, they are the bigger chunk that are also outside the brackets. And we haven't found a way to bring them into the tax net. That is because of the same problem that we are still operating a cash society where most of our transactions are through cash payments. And so to a large extent, this statement is true. On the other hand, I must say, just to conclude, that there are other professionals who are not in this bracket. And so the professionals who are in formal employment, like the accountant who is working in a ministry, a department, or agency, or the lawyer who is working in any corporation, the person earns, let's say, employment income only. So his PAYE, that is his employment taxes, are deducted and paid. So this professional is not earning business income like an accountant who is on private practice. That accountant who is on private practice is earning business income. So if he's not paying taxes on his business income, that person is evading tax. But a professional who is working in a corporate organization, a ministry or department or agency, after he's paid tax on his employment income, that person has no other obligation. So the point about professionals evading tax is one of a perception as well as real. So depending on which type of professional you are looking at, those who earn business income in addition to their employment income and are not paying taxes on their business income are certainly evading taxes. But those who are just earning employment income and are paying PAYE on their employment income, they are not evading taxes. So I guess we have to put it in context.
Mr. Latta, I'll come back to you about I'm an accountant myself, and the argument about we are aiding some of these things. A typical example is Aaron. And today, a lot of people still struggle to understand what happened when the Aaron case about the accountants ourselves are aiding some of these practices. Let me bring in Anose Bonsu. He's a chief executive of the Private Enterprise Federation. As private businesses, of course, you're going through challenges. You're struggling. I mean, some will say everybody doesn't want to pay tax, so why blame the professionals? It's the work of the GIA. Or am I right in this?
No, you're not right. Everybody has a responsibility to pay their fair share of taxes. That's the law. So if you're Ghanaian, if you're doing business in Ghana, you're earning income, you are required to. Now, under the new Act 992, businesses are required to maintain good business records. So that is available to GRA. Businesses are maintaining these records, but oblivious of the tax element of their responsibility. Why do I say that? The Private Enterprise Federation and its partners, including GRA, did a 2-year research as to the reason why our tax collections are low in this country compared to our peers in the sub-region. We have about 13.9. I don't know if that has changed since last year. Others are doing 18.5 and more. The tax laws are not easy to understand. Look at the average educational level of our businesses. 92% of our businesses are MSMEs. The educational level is below high school. The language of our tax laws are way beyond their comprehension. We have appealed. We went to GRA, as I said, they were partners when we did the research. They know. And that's why the Federation had even made effort to partner with them to educate our businesses as to the merits of what they need to do. GRA has taken one step forward in the sense that they have what we call ITABs. The ITABs has a platform that will allow the business person to aggregate their business records on the platform, and then at the end of the year, with the press of a button, they can then know their tax liability and go and pay. But the collection of the data from the day-to-day activities is very, very difficult for them. So what we have said is, let's lower the language, let's educate the businesses, and then allow them to pay their taxes. But for some reason, GRA sometimes think businesses don't want to pay tax. Every Ghanaian citizen that you talk to, they will tell you, yes, I don't agree with the taxes, but I have obligation to pay. And that is what we want GRA to understand and appreciate, that if we create this partnership and educate the taxpayers, the volume of taxes that they can collect will be triple. Now, there's another dimension to it, in the sense that if you allow this compliance or voluntary compliance, your collection costs, tax administration costs, will be lowered. So you're not chasing the recalcitrant taxpayer. You are actually allowing them to sit at the comfort of their homes and then be able to pay taxes. You see, when businesses set up business, they set up business to make money for themselves, regardless of your obligation. But when it's time to pay taxes and they decide they have to make a decision between their company and the taxes, nobody would go and pay a consultant before they go pay taxes. That's a double jeopardy for them. So if you lower that and you allow voluntary compliance, these guys will come in voluntarily and then be able to work with you. There are issues and areas where businesses have approached GRA and complained that the tax collection is destroying their business. Let me give you oil marketing companies. Their tax collection is based upon what they have sold, but GRA is charging them to pay 21 days after they have left it, whether it's sold or not. That is definitely inimical to good business practice. I haven't sold it. Why do I pay taxes? So they have ways of getting that and say, okay, why don't we do the pump direct tax deduction? So as soon as the petrol is pumped into the car, the calculation is done by the machine. It goes straight to GRA account elsewhere.
Okay.
These are tools that we can do collectively to make sure that GRA collects, because let's not forget, businesses are beneficiaries of government's expenditure on goods and services, because government is the biggest procurer of goods and services. If GRA doesn't collect and government doesn't realize the money, government returns are short and in turn affects businesses. So we are cognizant of that fact, but we have to do the needy. And what is the needy? Educate the business person who you depend on to provide that leveraging money, so at least you get the resources for government to be able to execute its agenda. There are no two ways about it. You cannot do what you don't understand. And that is the crux of the matter.
And I'll come back to you. But Mr. Nab, it appears that it's all about education. People are also very committed to pay. But do you think that it is right to rely on people's own volition and voluntary and being a committed citizen to pay?
Yeah, thank you very much. I think that is what GRA is actually trying to encourage, voluntary tax compliance.
People are not compliant.
Yes.
They don't want to pay.
No, some are compliant.
Really?
Yes, some are compliant. Yeah, of course, we have some other persons that are also not compliant. You see, we have put in place structures. Is that okay? That would actually drive voluntary compliance. For example, what we have done is that we have simplified the tax law. In fact, Mr. Bonsu mentioned the fact that our tax laws are very difficult to comprehend. That may be true. What we have done as
but you've made some progress in that area.
Exactly. What we have done is that we have come out with what we call practice notes, simplifying the law, ensuring that the law is actually interpreted in a manner that everybody would understand. That is what we have done. We also have what we call private rulings. You can request GRA, is that okay, to give you an interpretation of any provision of the law that you don't understand. We have done all these things to actually enhance voluntary compliance. What the government has also done is this tax amnesty. We are encouraging persons that actually
who have defaulted,
who owe taxes and have interest and penalties. Is that okay? To actually arrange or pay. But the payment must be made on or before 31st December 2021. Is that okay? And here we are talking about tax liabilities up to 31st December 2020. Come, arrange, and then we would forgive you your interest and penalties. Why are we doing that? We are doing that to ensure that we encourage voluntary tax compliance. Again, provision of tax services, tax education, you mentioned, that is what we are doing in GRA. You can't agree with me that almost every time we are in the media. Are you getting it? We are in social media as well, print and then electronic media, trying to actually educate all persons to appreciate what our civic responsibility is. But the truth of the matter is that when it comes to tax payment, the inertia is actually there. That is why the president actually took it upon himself to actually bemoan the tax-paying culture of Ghanaians.
Let's be realistic. You were talking about gift tax. I know that we all have to respect the law, but the human nature, and if you realize, it appears that even for those who are earning more, the rich, the famous, look at in America, the developed economies, governments are battling with these multinationals and all the rest to pay their taxes. Have we gotten to that stage where the moral suasion is enough? As long as we can establish that Mr. X earns 70,000 Ghana cedis a month and he's supposed to pay X amount of money to the state, let's go after him. Let's go after these professionals rather than sitting down and complaining that they are not paying.
Yeah, so you see, let's look at the professionals. The president mentioned that about 60,000, of them.
That's huge.
That is serious. But you see, the truth of the matter is that when it comes to these numbers, we have to also look at the way the data, was gathered. Initially, we Ghana Revenue Authority actually was issuing the TIN, the taxpayer identification number, and then NIA was issuing the Ghana card. Now, once it became very necessary for us to actually synchronize, the systems, what it was that there was a transfer, one-off transfer of about 14-point-something million. Now, what we did was that we tried to actually validate, is that okay, persons that have both the TIN and then the Ghana card. What we realized was that about 2.6 is that okay, persons actually, had a TIN. Then the rest Are you getting it? Do not, have the taxpayer identification number. Now, what it means is that, I mean, on the face of it, is that okay? One would say that they are not paying taxes. Is that okay? But we need to also look at, the issue as it is. The point actually is that some of them, as my colleague rightly pointed out, there are some who are employees. Yeah. Because they are employees, the requirement of payment of taxes is actually on their employers. They pay on their behalf. Yeah. Are you getting it? So therefore, unless maybe they have other incomes, is that okay, for which they have to actually disclose and pay. Otherwise, that ends the matter. But they are required to file anyway. Now, when you look at all these things, then the temptation to think that many of them are not paying, is there. I must also just admit that indeed there are a lot of them that are not paying. Following the president's, admonition, is that okay? Most of them have started calling us.
Wow.
Exactly.
So these professionals have started responding.
And what we have also done, even before the president actually made the call, what we did was to actually arrange with the professional bodies, get the data, is that okay, of all professionals, and actually begin to actually go after them. Is that okay?
So you are going after them as we speak right now?
Exactly as we speak now. We are going after them. We are calling them on phone. We are actually paying visits, to them. Why are we trying to do that? We are trying to do that because it is our responsibility as GRA to ensure that every person, pays the tax. That is exactly what we are doing. You get it. So
are you going after them again more of the moral solution or now being able to establish? But first, let me get a clarity for as we speak right now. Just a round figure. I mean, have we been able to establish, because the number of persons who are in active workforce, even just with the formal sector, have we been able to establish the round figure of those people who are not paying the taxes due to the state?
You see, that
the
is
rough numbers, not the exact number.
Okay, fine. That is the reason why this the synchronization of Ghana card and everything is quite impressive and paramount, for us. Because come to think of it, we were able to just offload about 14 point something million. Are you getting it?
Yeah.
As against 6.1. You get it? So it means that those who had registered for taxpayer identification number was only 6.1, as against 14 point something million. Now that tells us that now that we have been able to get these persons to actually, come on board, we are now trying to actually investigate the numbers.
Establish the true numbers.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we are auditing the numbers. Now what we have realized is that there are some who are actually students. Of course, because you have to, before you can access certain services, you need to have the Ghana card or the taxpayer identification number, as it were. So because of that, some have registered, but we are not interested in them. All that we are supposed to do is just to monitor. Are you getting it? So that as and when they actually begin to make income, then we go after them. But we are interested in persons who are income earners and are not actually, paying. We have established what we call the high net worth, unit. The high net worth unit actually is a unit that tries to identify persons who are actually in a high income bracket and are not paying their taxes. It's okay to chase them, get them to file. Are you getting it? Our law also allows us to do what we call name and shame. Is that okay? Where the commission
you're not doing that.
We will get there.
What is keeping you long when you know that the economic activities going on in the country doesn't match the taxes that we are collecting? 13% or 12% to GDP is quite low for an economy like Ghana.
That is very true.
It is going to the extent where we have to name and shame. We name and shame.
No, that is very true. But again, we in GRA are actually doing our best. But we think that we need to put some in place certain structures. For example, what we have done is that we have strengthened our prosecution unit. And we have trained our staff. Some select staff have been trained to actually help in gathering, data and evidence that would actually allow for prosecution. That is what we have done. Are you getting it? So we have put in place the structures that would ensure that very soon, I mean, it will not take long, you'll see a lot of, this is being prosecuted. And then I was able to mention something that has to do with the oil marketing companies. Yeah. You see, the truth of the matter is that we have two types of taxes. Yeah. We have the direct tax and the indirect taxes. Yeah. Now, with the oil marketing companies, the taxes he's talking about are the indirect taxes. Yeah. They are the levies and whatnot. Yeah. And in some other countries, what they do is that you have to pay the tax upfront before you even do the lifting. But in Ghana, we allow you to lift. Days. Are you getting it? And pay after 21 days. Oh, sorry. You get it. So that for us is actually to encourage businesses. If you look at Chapter 6 of our Constitution, that talks about the directive principle of state policy. government is committed to ensure that they promote investment, both local and foreign. For me, I think that allowing them to lift and pay later is good. But again, some of them actually defaulted. I can tell you, some of them defaulted so much. That's how come Commissioner General had to actually get serious. That look, you can, if you want to lift, you either pay cash and lift, or give me a bank guarantee. If you don't do that, I will not allow you to lift. You get it?
Yeah.
So we have to also be careful that, yes, we want to collect taxes. We also want to ensure that we are able to promote businesses. Because if the survival of businesses will also mean that GRA can also survive to be able to serve the country. That is also very critical.
Mr. Nab, I know that this is not the first time you are going after these defaulters. In terms of these professionals, what are you doing differently this time around to ensure that they honor, these are people who have been established that they defaulted, they honor the taxes due to the state?
Yes, so we have in place measures. As I said, we have identified, the professional bodies. We are collecting data, and we are engaging them to ensure that before they renew the certificate of their members, then they must actually clear with us. There's something called tax clearance certificate. They have to actually produce that one before that is done. And that is a measure that would ensure that we are able to collect, the taxes. But of course, not all of them actually, not all professionals are in good standing. So those that are not in good standing, we'll identify them and also go after them.
Let me bring in Mr. Yolati. He's a partner at Deloitte. For a tax partner, for a tax consultant, when you look through the books, some are saying that the tax advisors, we are the worst corporate in this area. We are strengthening those multinationals, not as Deloitte, sorry, but I'm just saying that in a whole, we could be also blamed for this challenge where we are not collecting enough revenue, but still the big firms, those who have it, are still finding a way to evade these taxes.
Okay, so thank you, George. I guess we would have to also put in context that where the law provides certain tax exemptions or tax incentives for certain industry players, we are allowed to advise our clients to follow those or have those incentives. So if we have laws that historically were supposed to encourage investment in specific sectors, such as mining, oil and gas, and those incentives are there, we support our clients to take advantage of those incentives. I think what has become one of the key issues of concern is our exemption policy. So today it came up in the papers that we have to have a comprehensive policy or laws around exemptions, because you are granting exemptions to certain industries and there's no plan, there is no policy around it. If we have a clearly defined policy around exemption policy for specific sectors that are supposed to stimulate our economic growth, then you will see the long-term effect of those exemptions, those incentives that we are giving to entities. So certainly we advise our clients and professionals to comply with the law. But sometimes the point is that if we are advising them to comply with the law, that's what you call tax avoidance. That is not tax evasion, because you are putting your books together legally to pay the minimum tax as possible, because the law allows you to take advantage of that. On the other hand, where someone is engaging in an illegality as a professional, I would expect the tax authorities to also step in to do that. The problem or the challenge we've had is that the capacity of some of the tax authorities we should build the capacity of some of these tax authorities. We recently had a program, and I guess Nana mentioned, for small and medium scale enterprises. And some of the challenges they are having with the tax authorities, it would amaze you. So tax authorities walk to their offices. The owner of the business is paying himself 5,000 Ghana cedis a month because he or she wants to grow her business or his business. And the tax authorities say, why are you paying yourself so low? You should be paying yourself 10,000 Ghana cedis. What is the basis for that? It has to be market driven. That a CEO in a reputable organization or institution like yours is paid 12,000, and we found it there. We have the data. And so on the basis of that, we are asking you to pay yourself, or we are equating your salary to that level. But if there's no basis for that, then you can't ask the client or the small medium operator or the sole proprietor to pay himself a certain amount of salary so that you could excise tax on that salary amount. I think if there's no basis for some of these collections, you would have challenges because the SMEs, as Nana said, some of them have challenges understanding the law. And so we have on our own even organized freebies of trainings for some of these SMEs to encourage them to pay taxes, because what we need is, in addition to prosecuting people, we should encourage people to voluntarily comply with the law. But how do people comply with the law when the transaction cost, as in the cost of paying the taxes, is so high? I mean, can you walk to any office and then find it so easy to pay taxes? Let's say you have a property in East Legon, you want to pay property taxes. Where is the office for you to go and pay the taxes? If you go there, who do you talk to? Is there an office? Your electricity bill, you know where to walk to. You know your tax office. The person who is operating business in Jowlu, in Amasaman, in Pokwase, where is the person's tax office? Have we educated the people who live there to know their tax offices? If we have not educated them, the person knows where to pay his light bill. He knows where to pay his water bill. Does he know where to pay his taxes? We have not educated people to know their tax offices. That voluntary tax compliance will be very difficult to achieve. So I think we have to move from where we are just encouraging people to where we are putting structures in place for people to be able to do that. We have national service persons that we can walk around to go to people's houses and educate them that because your house is situated here, Ga East, Ga West, this is your tax office. And this is the number of the person to call to pay your property taxes, or this is the number to call because you are using your office or your house as a law firm. This is the place to call to pay for your business taxes. And so if we don't educate people to know their tax offices, some of these things that we are saying, they will only wish they pay, but they don't know where to pay.
Now, let me take your quick comment before I go for a commercial break. In terms of for you, businesses, what do you want to ensure that you become so compliant and, I mean, be assured that you pay your taxes? In just a minute or 2 minutes, and go for a break, please.
George, you heard Yao and what he's saying, the difficulties of the micro, small, and medium enterprise. We've been elaborating on this statement for a while. Now, Mr. Nab talking about we going after them as if they're running somewhere. What we want is train them, let them understand your laws. They will be doing voluntary compliance. That is separate. Now, our tax laws, 25% taxes, income taxes, on everybody, regardless of whether you're small, micro, medium enterprises. 25% affects the business more than 25% on 2 million. So various countries, including Nigeria, our competitors, are moving to target tax system. Where are we? Tier tax system in a way that if you earn 5,000, you may only pay 500, one-time fee, and you go. If you scale up to 200,000, you go to 3 or 4%. You go up to 25,000, you go to maybe 15%. So these target taxes are yielding tremendous results. We have the data. We engage GRA. We engage Parliament. And now we're going to Parliament to let them also understand that they also have obligation to the business community to make sure that we pay our fair share, not detrimental share. Our fair share meaning that the guy's business have to get the generated income, internally generated income, to execute his business, not to collapse his business like you're going after them. So you got to pay taxes. And we talked about imprisonment that they were talking about, and GRA got angry and they were like, "Oh, this is not right." That is not right. If you collapse his business, there's no future taxes from that business. Don't forget that.
We'll take a short break, coming up. This is PM Express Tax Evasion, cracking the web. How do we ensure that all of us honor the taxes due the state? We'll be right back after this break. Welcome to PM Express Business Edition as we talk about tax evasion, cracking the web. How do we ensure that everyone out there who is engaged in economic activity pays his or her taxes due the state? I have Mr. Knapp with me. He is an Assistant Commissioner of the Ghana Revenue Authority and an aide to the Commissioner General of the Ghana Revenue Authority. And also Mr. Yalate, he is a partner, Deloitte, and then also Chief Executive of the Private Enterprise Federation. Mr. Knapp, we were trying to get some understanding as in. So going forward, has the Ghana Revenue Authority been able to quantify in terms of the amount that will be due if these professionals are paying their right taxes to the state?
Yeah, before that, let me just quickly...
Quick one, yeah.
Mr. Yao...
Deloitte, yeah.
Exactly. Mentioned that when it comes to the way GRA, does its work,
more business friendly, maybe.
He was talking about why would ask a businessman who has paid himself, 5,000 and whatnot. You see, what we do is that we conduct our work professionally. We engage you, we interview you. If we ask you, where do your children attend schools?
Yes.
I get it. And you mention, and then we look at your lifestyle and what have you. And we realize that no, this 5,000 that you are paying yourself
and
cannot actually...
salary.
Exactly. You get it. It is not as if it is done arbitrarily. We actually use the law. Again, he was talking about the capacity of staff of GRA.
Yeah.
In fact, I must just admit that when it comes to capacity, it's not only GRA. Everywhere, including the FM. I mean, you get it. So, I mean, it shouldn't appear as if GRA, when it comes to capacity, there's a problem.
But there have been instances where there are issues with the officials.
I can assure you that GRA, when it comes to capacity, GRA is not actually struggling. I can assure you. You see, the point is that when it comes to taxation,
qualifying it as
when it comes to taxation, it has always been.
Okay.
When it comes to taxation, it has to do with the law. We would try to interpret the law, you understand, based on our understanding. But at the end of the day, ultimately, it is the judge who determines how the law should be properly interpreted. So when there's a tango and then it gets to the court and we lose, it doesn't mean that we don't understand what we are doing. Are you getting this? Yeah. Now, to talk about the quantification of tax laws in terms of these professionals, we have always tried to actually quantify tax losses. Are you getting it? Now, when it comes to these professionals, we are trying to actually put a number to it. We haven't finished, so I wouldn't want to just put any information out there. But I can assure you that not too long we would come out with numbers regarding how much it is. But you see, you can be a professional, but if you are not working, how do you earn income? Taxation is based on income. It is not based on capital. We don't tax capital. Okay. That's what people must know. If you make losses, we don't tax you. Again, when it comes to the law, tax avoidance is actually bending the law without breaking it. So that we don't have any problem when you engage in tax avoidance. But when you engage in aggressive tax avoidance, that's where we have an issue. Aggressive tax avoidance may not sin against the law, but you are sinning against the administrative processes of GRA. In that case, GRA would actually come after you. You get it? So that is that. But again, when it comes to this tax evasion, there's one thing we have to also take note of. We have international multinationals that are also with us. They engage in a lot of transfer pricing, abuses. What we call transfer pricing, transfer mispricing. That is trying to transfer incomes or even payments that are supposed to be made probably are not done at arm's length. Are you getting it? What we get to know, we try to recharacterize it based on our law to ensure that whatever is due the state is actually paid. You get it? Then we also have what we call income splitting, where certain persons that run businesses may even bring in their family members who probably are not even working there and put them on salary. Are you getting it? So these are some of the things. But I can say that GRA alone will not be able to actually unearth people who are not paying taxes. We need the collaboration of all to be able to do this work.
But let me just bring in Mr. Lati and then Sebuns as you try and wrap up. In 2 minutes, Mr. Yate, the way forward, and I get to in 2 minutes and wrap up and I come in. So, Mr. Lati, your final thought, the way forward in dealing with this issue.
Yeah, thank you, George. I guess the point has been made by Mr. Nam that obviously capacity building cuts across. So as consultants, we are building our capacity, and also as tax administrators, they are also building their capacity, because tax laws are not static. Year on year, tax laws change, and of course, once the budget is read, you realize there are new laws. So we all educate ourselves and build our capacity so that we can effectively advise clients, and they can also effectively administer. And I like the point that he said that it's an all-inclusive thing. It's not just about the regulators or those who are enforcing the tax laws, but even those who are participants in this. And so one of the points that has been made before is professional bodies. So professional bodies have a way of regulating their members. So year on year, the Ghana Bar Association, the Institute of Chartered Accountants, those who have practice certificates are required to renew their licenses. So what are some of the ways that we can get people to pay their taxes, get tax clearance certificates before their licenses are renewed? Okay. Because we imposed or we got the tax identification numbers, people had 10, but the question is, they were using their thing to open bank account, they were using the thing to open, to go to court and others. But were we getting revenue from people who had the TIN numbers, or they had the TIN numbers just in name? Because you can't just have the TIN number, or you can not just have the Ghana card number and not having a way of monitoring people and tracking them with whatever they are doing or whatever they find themselves. Secondly, government and corporate bodies like yourselves and other institutions should also find a way of getting professionals to file their tax clearance or use their tax clearance certificates to support any bid. So people cannot apply to offer professional services to any ministry, department, or agency in Ghana unless the person supports the bid with a tax clearance certificate. That will force professionals to file their tax returns, because if you don't have a tax clearance certificate, you should not bid for any government contract wherever it is. If you don't have a tax clearance certificate, you cannot deal with any corporate institution in Ghana. When that is effectively enforced, people will be forced to pay their taxes.
Nana, the way forward in a minute. Sorry, time is not our biggest friend here. In a minute, the way forward, Nana.
George, I think the GRA is lower the temperament of their language to the private sector, because they shouldn't forget the private sector is the one that pays taxes, and profitable private sector pays taxes, not unprofitable private sector. So if they're going after people and imprisoning them and collapsing their business, it goes back to on the GRA itself. We said that let's collaborate, train the people, lower the tax language, and change the tax dynamics. I gave an example of the tier tax system being practiced in a lot of countries. We have one shoe fits all. If you make 2,000, you pay 25%. If you make 10,000, you make 25%. If you make 10 million, 25%. That is not sitting well with the indigenous businesses that we have in our community. The small, micro, medium, and enterprises cannot afford to lose their internally generated capital to trust their business. They're in a business to make money. Allow them to make money, expand, create jobs and wealth. Don't look like we're going after them. We're going to cut them. We're going to do this. They're not thieves. They're business people, and they want to make money. Allow them to make money because you GRA people, you also make money. And nobody's coming after you. So let's not to threaten the business community that, if you don't. I said, lower your language and let's see the volumes of taxpayers that you can bring to the table.
Thank you.
That is a critical element of what you need to do.
Thank you, Nana. Mr. Nab, it looks like they said GRA is not business friendly.
Oh, we are. In fact,
well, the feedback is that you are not.
Oh, we are. In fact, the truth of the matter is that you alluded to the fact that we have not been actually cracking the whip. You said that here. That is actually to tell you that the GRA would actually try to use the carrot system, not the stick. But you see, when you become, a taxpayer becomes a recalcitrant in tax payment, how do we develop, with that kind of attitude? So GRA, the law allows us to do that. Is that okay? It is when we do that, it is not out of place. We are doing that because the law says we should do that. Are you getting it? But you see, there are a lot of interventions that we have put in place to ensure that we are able to check some of this. For example, informal awards. We are saying that if you are able to provide information about a taxpayer that is not doing things right, and that actually leads to a recovery of taxes, will pay you a certain amount. Is that okay? That is what we are doing to ensure that we are able to actually raise revenue. Again, education. You cannot actually downplay the role of education when it comes to taxation. And GRA actually has engaged in a sustained education of our taxpayers. Are you getting it? And we also provide assistance. Come to GRA. In fact, tomorrow you can just walk there and see the number of applications asking for clarity in the law. Are you getting it? And we provide that. And you see, the fact of the matter is that taxpayers will always ask for clarity. When it is provided, the next time they are asking for clarity, so that if maybe you are not on your guard, are you getting it? You contradict.
What is the status of the tax advisory? Is it board or whatever that was supposed to be in place? I think to be corrected with the correct name that was supposed to be in place to arbitrate between businesses and Nigeria.
George, ask one question for me. Ask one question for me. What is that they doing to improve the businesses that claim they don't understand their language? And he kept saying their language is user-friendly. It is not.
Okay, no, I'll let him. So what are you doing about that one? Yeah.
Which one is it?
The bit about the tax language as well. In just about 5 seconds, what are you doing about that?
Oh no, we ask. Yeah. I mean, in terms of our tax laws.
Yeah. Simplifying your way.
Yes. We in fact we have tried to actually simplify our tax laws, which we have done, and we have also developed, as I mentioned earlier, practice notes. Practice notes are guidelines that are supposed to create consistency and uniformity in the application of the tax laws, which we have done.
The board, just a quick one. What has happened to it?
The Independence Appeals Board actually is a function of Ministry of Finance. They are supposed to do that, and I understand plans are underway to actually put together the board so that they can effectively function.
You understand property rates probably take up this year, ending yet this year?
No, property rate. We GRA collects taxes. We don't collect
the rates. It's a local assembly issue.
So that
Your final words in 5 seconds. I mean, we don't have 5 seconds. I mean, 5 seconds.
Yeah, thank you very much. Our final word. My final word is that GRA is a friendly organization.
Okay.
We are mandated to collect revenue.
Okay.
And we provide effective services to ensure that our taxpayers are able to actually do well and pay their taxes.
Thank you so much, you have to do the Kenton, and thanks the North Sebo to Private Enterprise Federation Chief Executive Yolate, his partner Deloitte, and Mr. Nab is Assistant Commissioner GRA and aide to the Commissioner General of the Ghana Revenue Authority. You have to draw the curtain, and I know the debate will go in your offices and your homes about the fact that how do we ensure we avoid people who are evading taxes and go after them. Have a great day.